Online presentation tips. This video is going to give you 3 basic tips that you can use to improve your online meetings, your online presentations, your Zoom calls, your digital meetings, and get your point across faster and better and be more memorable. So let's get into it. Tip number 1 is basic online presentation tips that you need to keep in mind, and there's a few of them. So the first one is get online about 30 minutes before your scheduled call and check basic things like your lighting and your background. For the background, you want it to be very clean and simple. Like you can see my background here. It's not much to distract you, but it's also not totally plain. You also want it to be representative of whatever it is that you're presenting. So depending on your business or the topic of your meeting, you might want to have something behind you that could be a discussion point or could be interesting to the person on the other side of that video call. The lighting, of course, needs to be addressed. So generally, you shouldn't have the lighting coming in from behind you like it is right now, but in this case it works and the lighting is still okay. But generally the lighting should be facing you. So check these things out about 30 minutes before you jump on a call to make sure that all these very basic things are done correctly, because you don't want to be fumbling around when you get on the real call. The other thing you want to keep in mind is, seems kind of obvious, but you need to keep the camera at face height. So right now I'm standing up, so I have something holding my camera up. But if I was going to be sitting down, I would have to adjust the camera. Again, seems pretty basic, but you'll be shocked how many people will have a video call like this or like this. It's really not good, especially if you're the one that's presenting. Okay, the other tricky aspect of this is if you're somebody that works with 2 screens normally. What you want to make sure of is that your video call or your Zoom call is happening on the same screen that you're looking at. So I've actually been in meetings, online meetings, where the person I'm talking to is looking at me, but they're looking at me on a screen that's here. So all I can see is this. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm looking at them like, who are they talking to? Even though they're telling me, oh, no, I'm with you. I just see you on this screen. Yeah, but guys, I don't see you looking at me, right? So you know how confusing that is and how frequently I'm gonna think that you're not paying attention to me? Literally all the time. So if you have 2 screens, because you're super cool, 2 screens is really awesome. I love 2 screens. If you have 3 screens, you're like, next level. But if you do work with 2 screens, just make sure that your video call is on the screen that you're looking at. Basic stuff here, guys. Another super basic tip, get on the actual call 5 minutes early. You never want to be the last one on the call, especially if you're hosting it. You probably never want to be fumbling around when everybody else is on the call. Oh, sorry, I was late. You never want to start a call by saying, I'm sorry, right? So get on 5 minutes early, grab a cup of coffee, relax, and watch everybody else fumble as they come on. Tip number 2, always turn your camera on and leave it on for the entire meeting. Now this is really interesting because sometimes you'll get on an online call or an online meeting and everybody else will not have their camera on. Has this happened to you recently where you think it's going to be a video call but all of a sudden it's just a voice call on Zoom? Comment below if that's happened recently. Have you turned your camera on? If you're not turning your camera on, it's actually hurting you, especially if you're the one that's presenting. If you're doing this in a sales situation or you are trying to get a point across, if you're trying to persuade somebody about anything, turn your camera on and leave it on. And here's why. When people can see you, they are much more likely to, number 1, understand what it is that you're talking about. And if it's your first meeting with that person or with that group of people, they need to see you. They need to put a face to the voice. They need to understand who you are, and that comes with visuals. Who you are encompasses a lot of things, but a big part of that is visual. And if you are the only person out of, let's say, 5 people on the call that has their video on, guess who is going to be getting the most attention on the call? You are. And that's good, again, if you want the attention, if you are presenting something. You want them to be paying attention to you. Another reason that you want to have your camera on is because it increases the chances that you're going to get what you want because of the visual aspect. When people can't connect who you are to the voice or the emails or the website, it's going to hurt you. Because right now, remember, we're talking about online calls or online meetings instead of in-person meetings, right? So if we're removing the in-person aspect, we need to get as close to that as possible using video calls. And the closest way you can do that is to make sure that your camera is on. And the other major reason that you want to make sure your camera is on is because it is much easier for the other person to say no to you if they cannot see you. It's the same concept as if you are on the phone with somebody. It's much easier for you to be mean to them or say no, as opposed to if they were in front of you. You're probably going to be a little bit nicer to that person if they're sitting in front of you, right? Same concept applies. Turn your camera on, even if everybody else does not have it on. And the third tip I have for you is to always have a screen share ready to go. Why do you want to do a screen share? Now, if you're presenting something, or if you're doing a sales call, this is a given. You should always have a visual. Most people are visual anyway. And if you're in the sales profession, you definitely need to have something that is representing your brand or your product or service visually. Now, what you want to make sure of is a few things when you're presenting something visually. You need engagement. So at no point should you ever just start reading from the slides. In fact, the slides should be so short and sweet that it maybe has an image and a couple bullet points that you can then elaborate on. But even more important than that, you need to be asking questions. There needs to be a lot of engagement, because if you're just giving a lecture or you're just throwing out a lot of information for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, guess what everybody else on the call is going to be doing? I mean, who knows? Because you're just talking nonstop, right? You need that engagement. You need them to be interacting with you. And the best way to do this is for you to be asking questions. I have a lot of other videos on how to ask open-ended questions, which is something that you definitely want to build into your presentations. But it's absolutely critical for you to do that, especially in online presentations, to get that engagement level. Another couple things you want to keep in mind is if they can see all of your slides and you have more than 5 slides, you need to understand that immediately people are going to think, ugh. So what you need to do is you need to jump around on the slides if it's possible. If they start asking questions and it works in that conversation for you to jump around. The second thing you need to do is as soon as you are done presenting, close the presentation, because that will immediately relieve everybody into knowing that you're done presenting and that they're going to be getting off the call quickly. And as soon as they know that, because you closed the presentation, they're going to be much more relaxed. So I hope these tips were helpful to you. Please share this video with somebody else that is doing presentations online or doing remote sales. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, do that now so you don't miss the next video. And I do these videos free every single week. And to keep these videos free, please share this video or one of my other videos with somebody that you think this will help. See you next time.